and the lads will come in there. So firstly, to introduce the three boys, if you want to turn on your microphones there, obviously we have a privacy notice at the top here, so have a read or you can click dismiss there. So firstly, we have our own Paddy Collum. Myself and Paddy soldiered together for many's a year. We both keep in contact too. Anytime that either of us have any bother goalkeeping, we're always the first one to pick up the phone to each other. Then we have our neighbour, who we get on very well with, Enda Lyons, who worked with Leitrim GAA from Carrigallen. Enda and myself would have played around the same time, and Enda's now doing a very similar job to me down in Leitrim as well. So we both be dealing with each other a lot through cross-border leagues and cool camps and different bits and pieces. And then we have Craig Lynch from Louth, who's also a Leinster coach, working up in Dundalk IT, and has his own website there and YouTube channel, The Gaelic Goalie. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So firstly, lads, welcome. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll have a nice evening. So Paddy, I'm going to start with you. Just make sure your mic is on there, Paddy. Great. Just want to start a little bit about your background growing up. Obviously, you're Ballinamok. Tell me a little bit about your family, going to school, who are you hanging out with in those early days?
Yeah, so I went to school in Ballinamok National School. It's only about 5 minutes away from my house. Drumlish one is only probably about 5 minutes the far side, but Ballinamok was easier with the bus going by. My family, there's myself. I'm the youngest. I have a brother, he's the oldest, and then the sister in the middle, mum and dad as well. All living around home still, so we're all fairly close. Going to school, I had one of the bigger classes in Ballinamok. I think there was 12 or 13 in it, but there was some small ones as well. But it's probably a small class looking at the ones nowadays. Would have hung around with a load of lads that played football. It was just the way it all fell in. Got to know then, obviously, when we finished up in school, when the two national schools came together. So the Drumlish lads and the Ballinamok lads, I started to get friendly with them as well. So I would have been hanging around with both from Drumlish and Ballinamok over the years.
And in those early days, Paddy, in like say first and second class, and you're really finding your feet around the yard and the bit of a pitch there beside the school, what games were you playing? What were you interested in?
When we were in school, Damien, it would have been a big soccer games. There was a little patch of grass there just beside the 5th and 6th room that we were only allowed on because we couldn't get to the big field until we were in 5th and 6th. And we used to be doing headers and volleys and playing a small bit of Gaelic football, but the main one was crossing the ball in for headers and trying to get the keeper to come out and all that. So it was every man fending for themselves. It was basically just a battlefield.
And had Paddy any interest in playing between the sticks at that stage, or was it whoever scored went in?
It was kind of whoever scored went in, and there was a lot of lads that probably were trying not to score then at that stage. But no, probably not at that. I played a little bit in schoolboy, but it never really dawned on me at that stage that I was going to probably make it or try and make it as in the goals anyway.
And then, Paddy, moving on into schoolboy football, into the upper room. When did you start playing there? Were you third or fourth class, or were you a little bit later?
It would have been probably third class, but mainly started probably on the team maybe around fourth class and that. And I would have been a sub coming on, maybe out the field most of the time. I think when I got to 5th class or 6th class, I ended up going in goals in a county final or a Division 3 final, whatever it was, against Mullinyaghta. I did in the park at half time, so I played out the field at the start and went in the goals in the second half.
And there's a lot of height in your family, Paddy. So you were quite tall at an early age. Were you growing into your body, or was that a sort of a challenge at a young age?
That was a challenge, Damien, at a young age. The body would have been a bit bigger now than the height at the time, so I had a good bit of growing in to do at that time. But yeah, the height is really on my dad's side, like, so myself, my father, and the brother were all over 6 foot, like, so. But I finally grew into my body anyway.
Yeah, and that can be a real challenge as a kid that's tall and, maybe a bit gangly and awkward and that sort of stuff, and trying to make their way in sport. How did you find that early doors? Like, obviously you had a keen interest in it, but, maybe not nailing your place down on a team or whatever.
Yeah, like I would have found it hard enough in national school, but it was more when I got to secondary school that I came out of my shell and I got more confident in myself and started to train a little bit harder and started to lose a bit of weight and started finding my feet a little bit more. So probably around when I got to mine that I started getting confident in playing football, and even if it was soccer, whatever it was, I got confident then when I started getting fit.
And was there a decision for you to make there between Mel's and mine, or was it just closest?
It was the bus went by the front door of my house, and I'd say no, that was the easiest decision for my mother. She wasn't going to drop me into Drumlish to get a bus to Longford, so that was where all our family went, cousins and the whole lot. So that's where there was no decision really at all.
And then when did the goalkeeping really start becoming a thing with you, playing games?
Yeah, so it probably didn't really start till it was probably around 05. Under 14, it was basically kicking the ball out of the hands, long kick, while able to carry it out by the 45 or that. Like, so I kind of fell in there that year, and then we went on to maybe under 14, and we had a really good team, and just kicked on from probably under 14 level the whole way. Started joining development squads and that. So probably when I was 13, 14, I started playing in the goals.
And was it something that you embraced at that stage? Was it something you showed an interest in, or it just got you on the field?
At that time, it probably just got me on the field, and I was happy to be mixing with other lads from other clubs with the development squads and that, and being part of a different team and that. But yeah, at that stage, when I was only 13, 14, 15, it was basically just to get me on the field, get me finding my feet, and then I could really start searching my way.
And when did you really start embracing the position? When did you think, yeah, look, I can make something of myself here?
I suppose in 06 we had a very good under 14 team, and in 07 there was 4 of that under 14 team started on our minor team in the county final, and it was probably then when Gary Brady and Jamie Hannafy were over the team that I started thinking, Jesus, these boys actually have faith in me here, and was part of a team then that won the first ever minor championship in the club, and I was only on 15, so it was probably around then that I started thinking, just this could be the way forward.
And just take me into college briefly and your footballing experiences there.
Yeah, college conversation will be brief all right now, but I went to DAT in 2010, and I played on one of probably the best football teams I've ever had the privilege to tug out with. Captained by Aidan O'Shea, Collum Walsh all-star playing a cornerback, Bernard Allen from Offaly corner forward. Like we had stars all over the field. Won a Freshers All Ireland. No team got within 10 points, maybe 9-10 points off us the whole way through. So that was a real experience. Unfortunately, the college career didn't last that long, and I found myself down at loan. I played a bit of Sigerson, but again, it was more the experience that I gained from playing with Athlone was because at the time, no more than with yourself at Longford, I was learning from Gary Connaughton, who was the Westmeath keeper and who was also back doing a college course. So he was the one in the sticks, but again, he was very good, very helpful to me, and helped me along the way as well. And that's the college career wrapped up.
Excellent. Craig, I'm going to bring you in now, and very similar train of questions. Just start me off with where you grew up. Your Munster Boys, is that where you always grew up? Whereabouts is that located in the county, and your type of primary school going years?
Yeah, Munster Boys just about, it's maybe a 5-minute drive north of Drogheda. My address is actually Drogheda, so it's fairly close. And I would have went to school. There's 2 schools in Munster Boys, both kind of big GAA schools. My primary school at the time, Harestown, would have been very much the principal at the time. The principal currently at the minute would have been winning Louth senior championship titles back in the 90s. So it was really big GAA background, and everything I've done from when I've started growing up in Munster Boys to now, nothing has really changed. It's even now you can see that the young lads out playing for the school team, nothing has changed from when I was there. It's the exact same. It's GAA. There's no soccer. If you were caught playing soccer in the schoolyard in the 90s in my school, you'd be in trouble. You wouldn't be let out for the next lunch break,
Ball busted.
Yeah.
And tell me about your family, Craig. Who's in it?
I have 3 younger brothers, 2 minor championship winners. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough to get that, and they let me know about it. I have 3 younger brothers, and then a father that would have played for a long time. He won a junior championship last year at 50 years of age. in goals. So he would have played for a very, very long time. So he would. And my father didn't like Gaelic at all. He was more of a soccer man coming from Drogheda. And it's when he moved out to here to my mother's family, who are staunch GAA. They'd be similar enough. They'd have no time for soccer whatsoever. So if I was out taking shots out in the front green, they'd be shouting at me to kick it over the bar. That's just more or less what I was brought up in.
And Craig, then obviously there's a lot of talent in that household, and the brothers goalkeepers as well, and your dad played in the 6-2. Was your path marked out from very early doors?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I would have been an outfielder up until the age of 20, 19, 20. I would have been very light. I would have been very tall, but very light. So in regards playing adult football, I would have struggled to get on teams. So I got to a stage that I can't remember. I'm trying to think today whether my father was starting to finish playing senior football at the time, or it was a case, I can't remember whether the cones came in around that time and I was kicking cones or kicking balls off cones in training and sending them 60, 70 yards down the field that no one else could believe this was happening. I think that's kind of where I started going into goals, because I couldn't get on at 18, 19, and I kind of settled for, well, yeah, I'll play in goals just to be involved,
And just take a little rewind there again back to the primary school. All outfield football, were you one of the staples out around the middle of the park with your height, or again, was it an issue like Paddy that just took a bit of time to grow into your frame?
On my own age, I would have been playing all the time. Yeah, I would have been one of them kids that you'd see on the Rory stories, where he gets all the brand new boots, the socks pulled up to his knees, collar pulled up, and thinking I was the bee's knees, but I was only a little coward running around the field. But I would have been midfield. But there's a chap that would have went to school with me. He was probably half the height of me, but carried me a lot of the time, because he's an exceptional footballer and still is, But I would have been midfield. Would have been midfield at my own age the whole way up, and then maybe the years above I would have been a forward, and never ever would have played in goals.
And taking frees, was that something that you were tipping with in your teenage years?
Kind of been in and out. We would have always had decent forwards in the school teams and the club teams that would have been kicking frees, but long range, maybe 45s, I would have been in taking them myself, yeah.
Okay, and then into secondary school, where did you end up going there? Was it a big school, and what was football like there?
Yeah, I actually think it's one of the biggest in Leinster, or maybe Ireland at the minute. St Oliver's in Drogheda. At the minute, there's not a big GAA background now. The school would have produced the likes of Gary Kelly, Ian Hart, Nicky Colligan. There would have been a lot of really good soccer players that would have come through the secondary school. But I think my 6th year, we got to the All-Ireland final and got beaten by Virginia and Cavan, 2-4, 4-8.
What grade was that?
I can't remember what it was. I know there's a Eugene Keaton that plays with Cavan and James McEnroe. It would have been a very, very good team. But that would have been the last kind of team the school would have produced. Owen Lennon that played midfield with Monaghan, he would have been coaching us as well at the time. And Vinnie Corey would have come in on he must have been doing something to do with college, but he would have been in around the time as well. So we had actually a lot of good Gaelic men in the college at the time getting involved with us. And
then proper college, 3rd level, where did you end up there? And was there Sigerson, Trench if it was at Dundalk?
No, I actually didn't. I had coming out of school, I had absolutely zero intention of going to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of getting a bit pressed at home about going to college. I genuinely had no interest at all. I just wanted to play football. I thought at the time, foolish enough, thinking you could make some form of career playing Gaelic football or something. And I ended up going to the Institute of Further Education in Drogheda for about 6 months just to please my mother. And once again, you fall into Gaelic. We played as part of the first Gaelic team that was in the college myself, and I think Biggie Riley was there, and a couple of local lads would have been playing at the time. But it was about 6 months, and I only done it just to get the mother off me back. But to be fair, coming out of it, I done the Foundation Award course. Mairead would have come in and done it with me, and from then I just would have stuck with the GAA the whole way through.
And obviously back in Dundalk IT now, do you look at the younger ones around you and wish that you had that experience now, or maybe you are having that experience?
Oh, I would have loved it. Like, going back on it now, I would have loved to I would definitely wouldn't love to do the studying and all that sort of stuff, but definitely the life they live. Like I know, like Niall Cairns and Rian O'Neill, Sam Murray as well. Like all these boys get really well looked after from their counties, and it's more of a relaxed lifestyle to an extent. They're able to go and do their gym stuff, and they don't have to worry about going out working. And it is a nice lifestyle they're living, you know. And even myself being a DKT, to be able to meet the likes of these boys and see, almost live through what they're doing now at the minute, you know, it is really enjoyable.
And obviously Dundalk IT were Sigerson last year, correct?
2 years ago.
Yeah, so
we would have played
back then, yeah.
Yeah, we would have played DCU in Darver, and I think we got bet by a point.
Some experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. So it was. We were in the Trench Cup final there last year against Letterkenny. Michael Murphy was over them. It was an unbelievable game of football.
Thanks, Craig, for that. We'll jump over to Enda now again. So Enda, similar story. Me and you quite close to each other at home, just on the other side of the border, but a lot of the areas that you would have grown up in, I'd know quite well as well. So give us a little feel for Carrigallen and family life when there was a young Enda running around the place.
Well, I suppose like the boys, I feel very old in this at the moment, Damien, because the boys are talking about the 90s and stuff like that. I started school back in 84, back in Carrigallen. So it's a long time ago now in one room of a building that we had back then. But yeah, actually, Carrigallen, it was a very small school. We all grew up together. We all played football together. More than the boys, like we just played football and football and football. We had nothing else. We only had GAA or soccer in the yard or whatever the case may be. We didn't have soccer per se or a team around us or any of that sort of stuff. So all we had was GAA. All it was 60 seconds off the wall, all those kind of games that probably saying it now, a lot of the fellas might know what it was, a World Cup or some of those things. So that was kind of where we kind of done all our football was on the yard, and where we learned all our skills basically was on the yard and playing against each other and playing, as they say now, small-sided games, really, you know.
And you didn't have much space that was the old school, wasn't it? But the new school is across the road and a little bit more space, but...
Yeah, no, we'd have a very little space. There was a field out already. We couldn't get out to it because it was like a swamp. So if we did ever get out to it, we came in and she'd be head to toe in muck. And obviously that didn't go well for the teachers, and it was worse when you went home and your uniform was destroyed, like, you know. So back then it was just we just played every day in the yard, and like I said, we had nothing really else to do. We played soccer, GAA, but it was kind of basic enough back then. In them times, Damien, as you know yourself, all you had was a GAA and the local club.
And how many was in your class, Enda? Was it 2 or 3 classes combined? How big was the school? How many boys?
No, we had 2 classes together, so it would have been, when we started senior infants and junior infants, would have been in the one new room. So you would have been looking at probably around 22. So it would have been quite big. We'd been in with a bus coming into the school and things like that as well. So the school itself would have been grand. When I started off, there was 3 teachers in the school, and it really expanded when I was leaving. I think we had gone up to 5. So again, there was an influx of people into the area that drove the numbers, and obviously the new school building helped that as well, you know.
And then schoolboy football as well. I know when I started playing, 10 was the first stage I was, and it was schoolboy football.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah, no, we didn't play until nearly 5th class because you weren't able to get on the teams, because, like I said, you had big, strong fellas playing, and at that time we were playing in the higher grade in school, and we were actually quite competitive and we were done quite well. Now, I didn't get on the teams really until nearly 6th class, 5th and 6th class, and it would have been out the field back then, because a neighbour of yours, Terence Reynolds, as you know, would have been the goalkeeper back then, and I was playing out the field, corner forward at that stage.
And just take me into your family there, and what's the makeup of that?
Yeah, well, I have 2 young. I'm the oldest in the house, obviously, mum and dad, and then I have my sisters next, and then my 2 younger brothers. Again, house steeped in GAA, but on both sides. My mum's family would be very heavily involved. She's originally from Carrick-on-Shannon, St Mary's, and dad obviously was involved all his life in Carrigallen. Like, so, again, it comes back to it. Back in those times, you went out and you played in the garden, you played football. You went out to the pitch during your summers, you played football, you cycled everywhere at that stage, and all you had was the GAA. And, like, to be honest, I think that was where a lot of the skills came from. And no more than the rest of the boys. I didn't really start my career in goals, and it was by a pure fluke that actually happened one day when we were out playing. There was another 14 game, and I happened to be at the match. I didn't even have gear with me, and the coach asked me to go on goals, and I never got out of goals after. Like, so, it's one of those things. We didn't have too many goalkeepers around at that stage in the area.
And was it something that you possessed at that stage, Enda, or was it just a case that you were a body, that you weren't causing him too much grief and he left you there? Or were you showing an application for it?
At the time, I used to play corner forward, and people used to say I was handy enough, but I don't even remember that. But I went into goals and I played quite well, and I really enjoyed it. Probably, I think, as everybody says, goalkeepers are slightly mad. I like the fact that you could make saves and you could be the hero. You never really thought about being the villain back then. Didn't matter if the goal went in, but if you made a few saves, sure, you were a great fella, you know. So that was the reason why. And like I said, I got encouragement to stay there, possibly because I was quite small, and no more than was Paddy was saying earlier, I had a tendency to eat a little bit too much, you know, as well. So it was easier to put me in goals, and it was solid. I could catch the ball and I could kick it. And as you know, back then, we were kicking the ball off the ground in the early 90s. So I could kick it off the ground and could get it out. And that was another reason why they stuck me in goals, you know.
And then thinking about going to secondary school, obviously you had Carrigallen on your doorstep, which was very appealing. And then you had mine up the road. Was that an attraction at any stage, or was it always Carrigallen?
Well, I actually done the entrance exam in mine. The bus went through Carrigallen at that time, but I was always going to go to Carrigallen. Like everybody, I think we only in the class that we had, I think only maybe 3 or 4 went up to mine, actually up towards that Gartamone area, and the rest is all went to Carrigallen. So it wasn't really, I could walk to school every day, so it wasn't anywhere else, only Carrigallen where I was going, you know.
And then when you left secondary school, where did that end up taking you?
Well, when I left secondary school, I went to college, and then for a short while in Sligo, and then an illness meant that I wasn't able to continue in school. I played for freshers there with Sligo. We had a great team. We got to an All-Ireland final. Dermot Higgins of Mayo was the current Donegal coach, was actually playing as well, you know. So and Mayo manager. So we had a good team. We got to a freshers final. And then due to something else that's out of my control, I never went back. And then I just went straight working after I got back to myself. I went back to work in Dublin, and that was basically it from 99 on.
Great. Paddy, I'll come back to you now. I want to talk a little bit about football and playing with the Gaels. So St. Vincent's as a teenager, and then success, as you say, came to you very quick with a minor championship as a 15-year-old. So maybe pick it up from there and developing up into adult football.
Yeah, so 06 we had a team that won everything under 14. So a lot of that team carried on to play minor football then with St. Vincent's. I said we got an awful lot of luck in the county final that day, and we won it 1-5 to 2-5, and it was the first time we won the championship in the club's history. Following on then, I think it was the following year, 2008, we won an under-16 championship with the team that won all under 14, and then we waited until 2010 till that team came again, and we won the minor championship for the second time. And there are only two championships that we have in the club at minor level. 2013, we won an under-21 with Father Manning Gaels. It was my 4th final in a row. And it's the only under 21 that I have, so you can guess for yourself that the other 3 were lost. Started playing with Father Manning Gaels senior team in 2009. Tommy McCormick was the manager, and I was only out of under 16, so he had faith in me, and he started me in the first round of the league against Conley's. But the year before, even though I was too young, I used to train with the seniors the whole time, and he was very good to me in the sense that if we had a challenge game or that, he'd always make sure he gave me 10 or 15 minutes on the side of it as well. So it's probably that, and then playing senior football then since 2009 right up until now. We had a little bit of a dip, and we got relegated to intermediate 2 years ago, but we won it last year. So we're back up in senior, and that's really it.
And then, obviously, Paddy, the early part of this last decade, 2010, a huge year with winning the Leinster Minor, and then a couple under 20 provincial under-21 finals in the years after that.
Yeah, like 2010 was probably the best year I've ever witnessed in football, in the sense that I went to college and won the All-Ireland, was with Longford and won the Leinster, and was with the club minors and won the championship. So that was probably the best year I can recall that I've ever had playing football. 2011 we went on and got to another Leinster final under 21 to lose out to Wexford, and 2013 I lost out in another Leinster final to Kildare. Both of them played in O'Moore Park down in Laois.
Yeah, and nothing really in the two games. I think a point to Wexford, maybe 2, and then 3 to Kildare.
Yeah, point. Wexford bet us by a point, and Kildare bet us by the goal, the only goal of the game.
So then the breakthrough to the Longford senior panel. When did that come?
When you were retired.
Well,
I got called into the Longford senior panel in 2011, so it was after the year we got to the Leinster final. I think that year we got out of Division 3, Damien, if I recall, and Glenn Ryan was the manager. And the last game in the league, we had been promoted with Wexford, but we had to play Wexford at home, if I'm right. And that was my debut. So I played that game in the league because we were already home and hosed. And didn't play then probably, I think, was it 2014, Jack Sheedy came in and we kind of split the league. And then you played the championship, and I made my senior debut in the Leinster Championship against Offaly in 2015 in a 7-point swing or something like that. We were down by 4 at half time against Offaly, and we turned around and won by 3. So yeah, that's when I probably made the breakthrough.
And just those early days, Paddy, coming in, because obviously I can relate to a very similar situation when I came on board and Gavin Horner was there. And just what was in your head as being, about a 20-year-old at that stage?
Yeah, so like I came in there at 20, I think it was 20 or that. And at 19, I think it was, because in 2011 we had that, we were in under 21, and I think at that time the seniors and under 21 kind of trained on the same pitch, and we had the top end, the seniors at the bottom end, but the senior players on the under 21 team either juggled between them. So I suppose I didn't really think too much of it till I was finished under 21, because out of all the years I had with the 20s, we had 2 long runs which took us right up. So I was playing under 21 football right up until senior was nearly over as well at the time. Yeah, that was really it. Like I didn't really think too much about it till under 21 was finished, and I going into pre-season I was like, there's no ducking and diving here now. It's senior football and senior intercounty, and you're training hard from start to finish.
And Paddy, looking back over all of your career up until this point in time, what people have you felt have influenced you in a positive way, and with the whole goalkeeping position as well?
Yeah, so with the whole goalkeeping, I've been very lucky, Damien. I said, like, I probably goalkeeping position in 2003, my brother played in the Leinster under 21 final with Longford, and I was just saying it to him the other day, and we were kind of slagging. And as you know yourself, being siblings and that, like I wanted to get to the place that I could better him, and he was trying to better me at football. So he had a massive influence on me. Like I was going watching him playing in goals for the county under 21s, watching him playing in goals for Drumlish, and I wanted that. And that's why he was the main reason. But like as I said, I've been very lucky. I went into an intercounty scene where you were there, and very good, took me under and like trained me hard, and I learned so much from you. And was down at Loan, had Gary Connaughton, like a great goalie as well, an all-star. Then like there now at the minute, like Gavin Horner is the goalkeeping coach with Longford, like, and he's the best you get, like, and learning so much from him and listening to him talking as well. Like there was even a year there in Drumlish, like Eamon Crowe came out and done a couple of training sessions with me in Drumlish under 21, and like there was me looking, I had seen him playing in county finals, and like I've been lucky enough to always have someone good to look up to and fall back on as well, to keep me on the right track.
Excellent. Thanks, Paddy. Craig, I'll come back to you. Anyone that sees Craig's or Enda's picture, they're both frozen, but they can both hear us and we can hear them. So Craig, Naomh Martin is your club. Just a little bit about how you've been getting on in adult football, and then when you got on to the Louth panel.
As I said earlier on, I would have started around 16, 17, 18. I would have been trying to get onto the senior adult team then as an outfielder. And we would have won a senior league back 2008, I think it was, 7 or 8. My father's and all my uncles were playing. I was only 16 playing there. And then I would have went in goals around 2009 for half a season. We were senior 30 years last year and never got relegated, never got promoted. So we were just kind of always there, not really contributing the whole pile to the competition in the division or the championship. And then I went in goals around 2009 for half a season. When I was playing under 21 football, and I got called up to the under 21 team. Similar enough to what Paddy's situation was. We would have trained the under 21s and the seniors on the same field or in the same area. And I think Stewart Randall, who would have been the goalkeeper for Louth for a long time, he stepped away. So I think he done a bit of a pre-season and then stepped away. And then I think Peter Fitzpatrick would have come along and asked me to get involved then. So from very early, I would have been with the Louth senior team and Louth under 21 team. So straight away, I was the #1 goalkeeper for the club team too. But the problem was I was going from being a goalkeeper with the club team to being an outfielder with the club team. I might have played 3 games in nets and then 3 games outfield and then back into nets. And there was never real much consistency to what I was doing with the club up until maybe when I came home from Australia. I came home from Australia in around 2014, 2015. And ever since then, I would have been more or less kind of in goals full time with the club team. We would have got to 2 senior finals in the last 2 years, lost both of them, and we would have got to 2 of the league finals, 3 league finals, and won 2 of them. So in the last number of years, we would have started to get our act together in senior club football with the club.
And the breakthrough then to the Louth seniors, how did that come about?
My first year with the senior team was December 2010, the year of the Leinster final, notorious Leinster final. Looking back on it now, I wasn't ready. You know, as I said, I probably would have been only a goalie 6-7 months. Never would have trained. All I knew how to do was to kick the ball out, and I was there too early at the time. I thought, geez, I could get a chance here. You know. Looking back at it now, it would have been the worst thing possible that could have happened to me at the time. You know, I wasn't ready for it. I would have stayed there up until I went to Australia in 2012, and then left. And then I missed 2 seasons with Louth with Aidan O'Rourke. I wasn't there at all for him. And then when I came back, Colin Kelly was in charge. He took me back up into the team, and we were struggling a wee bit at the start. We got knocked out of Leinster Championship, and I think it was the qualifiers we played Leitrim. Actually, I think it was Leitrim we played in Drogheda, and that would have been my first game. I never would have got any O'Byrne Cup games in the 3 years I was there previous. Never played a couple of challenge games, but was never given any time at all to try and get in and get that jersey off Neil Gallagher, who was exceptional, was there for a long time too. Looking back at it now, I hadn't a chance of taking it off, but in my head at the time I did. So Colin Kelly took me in against Leitrim. I done well against Leitrim off the back of a couple of performances for the Louth junior team, who would have won I think we got as far as the All-Ireland semi-final. Sligo beat us. And then, I would have got into the senior team and played well against Leitrim. Then we went down to play Tipperary in Thurles, and we got an awful hiding that day. That was only my second senior game for Louth. I ended up dropping, we were probably 20 points down, but I ended up dropping the ball into the net. Colum O'Riordan, I'll never forget it. I know he's over there sunning himself in Sydney, but that's one thing it'll never leave me till the day I finish playing football. The day I died, it was that feeling of dropping the ball in the net in my second game. I just thought it was over before it even started. But in fairness to Colin Kelly, he stuck with me, and I would have stayed there for a long time. And I haven't left since 2015. Yeah, 2015. I would have been part of the panel up until now.
Great, thanks, Craig. And just before I move over to Enda, just 2 things that I kind of want to flag with people there in case they skip by. But just the paths that these lads have had to deal with to get into a position, whether it be in their club or at intercounty level. that it's not an easy path. There has always been obstacles in front of them with keepers that have been strong, and the amount of work that they have to do to get into it. And also there, just what Craig is after saying, and the other two lads will vouch for it as well, about how one incident in a game that they were being hammered in, but it's still in Craig's head and it's still playing on his mind. So, just be wary of your own keepers that, you think that they get over these things, but there's somebody who's playing at the very height of the game, and there's something like that that's still playing on their mind as well. And Paddy and Enda will both testify to that. I know I can testify to it as well. So, Enda, just again, if we can jump forward to your breakthrough onto the Leitrim panel, and how did that come about? Were you a minor prior to it in under 21?
Yeah, no, I was lucky enough. I was played at every level with the county, with under 16, minor, under 21. But really, how I started was in '97 we played against Mayo in Castlebar, and I played quite well in that match under Pat Pryor. And then the following year, I was very, very lucky. Peter McGinnity asked me to come into the under 21 squad, and I was the minor keeper as well as that as well. And that year we got to both Connacht finals, under 21, where we lost to that great Galway team of Pádraig Joyce, Michael Donnellan, Derek Savage, all those players, Fahey's. They would beat us in Carrick by 2 or 3 points. And then that same year we went on and won a Connacht minor in '98 and played that great Tyrone team in the All-Ireland semi-final with Stephen O'Neill and Cormac McAnallen and all those fellas that kind of went on and won All-Irelands. And then obviously 99, a medical issue came up, and I didn't play much then, really. I missed that year. But then the following 2 years I played county under 21, and then I was brought in. Joe Reynolds at the time brought me in along with Peter. Peter McGinnity had me training with the seniors as well, with Martin McHugh back then as well, and Martin Pryor. So I got great experience around that time to play. But I made my debut in 2002 under Declan Rowley. I was very pleased to get that year. We played against Sligo in the championship and they beat us by a couple of points, and that made my debut after that as well. And then I played for a couple of years, and then kind of between myself and Garrett Phelan, we were kind of in and out all those times. And then I took a wee bit of a break in the middle, and I went down and I played a bit of soccer with Ballymallard United. Brilliant experience. Really enjoyed it, and then played a bit of club soccer down there as well within the Skilling Rangers. And then came back under John Morrison and Mickey Moran and played for a couple of seasons with them, and then kind of left because of the birth of my daughter. I was 30 at that stage, so priorities of family take over back then. And then I was taken back in a couple of times then by Sean Hines, brought me back for a little while, and then I played the junior championship with Leitrim as well. So I've kind of been playing on and off for Leitrim since I've been 16 years of age, to be honest. And more than the boys, looking back, there was times where I felt I should have been playing, and when looking back now, I probably was way off it at that stage as well. But you learn by sitting there and looking and seeing what's going wrong and reflecting on what you're doing as well. I was very, very lucky as well in Carrigallen. I made my debut at Carrigallen when I was 16, and under Brian Doyle and Michael Riley, and I played at the club for 22 years. Having never missed a championship year, with some great times, won intermediate championships. Unfortunately, lost a senior championship by a point, and lost a Connacht intermediate club final by a point as well from Tour McKitty from Mayo. So, no more than the boys, there's memories that you kind of block out, and when you do make a mistake, and it's probably one of the most important things that people have to remember in that goalkeeping position, is that there's good days, but the majority of the time is you come away from a match very, very disappointed, and you need a really good structure around home where people can say, you can talk to them and you can vent and you can kind of chat about what went on in the matches as well. So it's very, very important. It's a lonely position. It's a great position, but it's something that coaches need to be very aware of on that as well, especially with younger kids.
Thanks, Enda. Lads, I'm going to throw you one question each here. We'll just go around the table really quickly, and then we'll get into our discussion. But Paddy, I'll start with you.
Yep.
What element of madness do you have?
What element of madness do I have?
Yeah, apart from the beard.
I suppose for Damien, you have to have some bit of madness to be in goals anyway, and that's what the boys were saying there earlier. You have to have some bit of madness. I wouldn't be able to put a finger on it because I'd like to think that I'm fairly quiet, but I know myself there would be a bit of madness in the back, but to put the finger on it, I just wouldn't be able to.
And Paddy, is your madness like in your head when you're away from the field, that you're always thinking about things and, you know, not so much that your actions, because you are very cool and calm and collected when you're on the pitch?
Yeah, I bring everything away from the field, Damien. And like what Craig was saying there, like, and if you want to go back to what I was talking about playing a Leinster final in 2011, I got serious talk about dropping a ball that cost us the game in the first 10 minutes, and that's 9 years ago, and it's still brought up to this day. And nice and calm talking to people about it, but it absolutely boils me. You know, like, it's dead in the water, it's done, not much more I can do about it now. Like, I didn't go out to do it that day no more than Craig, and it's just things like that. Like, it'd probably be a bit of madness to away from the pitch when I'm on my own or with the family or that, giving out about things like that, but on the field, calm, cool, hopefully a bit collective. Craig,
where's your madness?
I'd be capable, Damien, of saying or doing anything. Like, be it training, be it in the dressing room, being on the pitch. I don't even know what I'm going to say or do sometimes, and it would nerve some people that's around me that know, like, what's this idiot going to do next or say next. Or I tend to do a fair amount of messing, which might upset certain managers, but it's just the way I go on.
And in your head, Craig, are you in control?
Yeah. I would always be fairly calm, but it's more of a coping mechanism. Maybe I'm using the wrong term, but if I'm nervous in some way, the only way I get rid of it is by getting involved in something, or hiding someone's towel in the dressing room, or moving someone's boots that might be all geared up to the perfect warm up and the perfect laces are all the same length. I'd be going over, I'd change them, or I'd usually blame somebody else for doing it. But at this stage, I'm in the dressing room long enough, they usually know to come blaming me straight away.
And that whole, you're talking about the dressing room there, but even out in the field, the goalkeeper is a very isolated person on the whole pitch, and there are only certain elements of the game that the keeper can control. And you see it with a lot of teenage goalkeepers, that the game has been played away and it's getting away from them, and they lose the rag with umpires, or they lose the rag when a referee gives a decision, and it's because I feel that they're so limited in control of the match that they want to do their best, but they can't influence it, and sometimes that sort of stuff can come out. Yeah,
definitely. I know myself, like, you probably deal with two different types of way. I know a lot with the club, and anybody from Louth that might be listening in or listen to the video back. I played in a senior final 2 years ago where we were 7 points up, and I got a black card with 15 minutes to go, and we ended up losing the game by a point. Like, for me, with the club, I would have been going out the field a lot with the ball. Still thinking I'm an outfielder and I'm capable of playing outfield, and ultimately it got me that time. I know also times when I need to calm myself down, and I'm aware I need to calm myself down. There's times I go and I literally stand out of the goals. Now, obviously, in a controlled situation where your team has the ball down your end of the field, but I would stand behind the goals, or I'd have a chat with the umpire, drinking a bit of the water or something. I'd literally stand the other side of the white line to try and talk about the weather to the umpire, or some lad that might be giving me abuse behind the wall. I'd have a chat with him and say, "Do you listen to that? All he's done is give out to me for the last 20 minutes, something like that, to try and take my head out of the fact that there's probably not a whole pile I can do in the game at the minute."
Yeah, and again, coaches that are listening in here, these are just interesting things to know about what's going on inside your goalkeeper's head and the coping mechanisms that they might need in a situation like that, and then to ensure that they're able to keep focus for that one moment or couple moments in a match where they are needed. Enda, your little touch of madness, what is it?
Well, it's probably it's kind of, no more than Craig and the boys, I would switch very quickly. Like, I would come into the dressing room, and what Craig would be doing would drive me insane, because I would have to sit in the same place, the gear goes out the same way, everything has to be the right way, but yet I go on the pitch and people would call me hugely contrary. I would be desperate. Like, I would be giving out to the referees, to the boys in line, but it just felt that I was focused in the game. It was me being in the game, my head was in the game, I was ready to go. I was there where I needed to be. I was so focused on the game, but it allowed me to be nearly interactive in the game rather than just standing there. So the more than Craig, I might have a chat with the umpire if I knew him or something like that. But generally, I would kind of onto defenders or giving forwards guff or kind of onto the referee, make a decision. He could be at the other end of the field and I'd be still roaring at him. But it just felt that I was still involved in the game, and that was my concentration levels as well. What used to drive me mental was fellas that used to be one-on-one and they kick it over the bar or something like that. Like that just kind of drove me insane. Like I just wanted to make saves. I wanted to be in the game, and I felt the more vocal that I was and the more contrary I was in the game as well. So that was just me. A lot of fellas tried to stop me, but it didn't really work, unfortunately, for them. I'd say a lot of managers thinking, what kind of a head the ball is this lad in here? Because they'd be as quiet and they'd be in great form coming into the match, but come onto the pitch or come onto training, I'd be desperate.
You're a lad that liked living on the edge.
Very much so, yeah. And to be fair, I've never got sent off. I never got a black card. I got a few yellows, all right, but it was for more or less mounted more than anything else. It wasn't anything contrary, but I just had to feel that I was involved in the game and that the game wasn't passing me by. And by doing that, I was very, very vocal to my own players as much as the other boys, as the opposition.
Paddy referenced Gavin Horner there earlier. Gavin has a question there that we're coming to in a couple of points' time. But Paddy, you're going to be talking a little bit about Gavin now. So what does a typical goalkeeping session look like on the field, Paddy? So you go out on a Tuesday or Thursday night, whatever it is. What does Gavin have in store for you?
We go out on a Tuesday. It's all about get moving first and getting the hands nice and warm. So you just be doing like load of quick feet, load of sharp stuff, get the hands nice and warm, lateral movements, and then basically just getting the body hitting the ground. Like not straight away you're going into big heavy shots, but like, you know, Gavin would be there and he'd be just nice little handy little passes to cones that he'd be set up, like, and it'd be just getting the body down, hitting the ground. Then we'd open it up, like, and it'd be more intense sort of shooting and the whole lot. And we try and bring everything into it. Like, so he'll say to me before a training session, what do you think from the weekend? And I'd said, well, you know, maybe might just work on the near post shot or something. Like, I feel like I nearly got caught in a game or something like this at the weekend, and very good, we'll go and we'll work on that. Like, so we'll talk before it, but usually we'd always at the start you get moving, get the feet going, get the hands nice and warm, get the flight of the ball, get the feet warm, just kicking the ball, and, you know, just getting the body hitting the ground nice and early in the session. Yeah,
it's a well-told story now at this stage about Cluxton and the 2 All-Ireland finals this year, where he didn't make a save at one point and he went back and spent 2 weeks working on it religiously and then ended up making a save in the replay or in the one final. And having that relationship with a coach, if it's at intercounty level, or just the manager of a team whereby maybe the goalkeeper is getting absolutely zero work, but they can have that conversation and say, look, these are a couple of things I feel I just need to work on in the minute. Can you incorporate them into training? Craig, anything different there that you might be doing or anything specific for your own game?
I suppose for a lot of years I would have been the lad that's coming out and before even stretching a hamstring or stretching a quad, I'd be leathering balls about trying to hit lads in the head, or if lads was going out for a little whittle behind the floodlight, I'd be the one that's trying to hit them in the head. But I've got to a stage now, the body's just probably telling me that you can't be doing that anymore. So I'd spend a bit of time myself just trying to get the body going. And then when the session's called in, we would have a little team brief ourselves, maybe 2 minutes, and then back over to the goalie coach, and we'd have like if we had a game the weekend, we would discuss bits and pieces, or I'd want to know his thoughts on something that I might have done or I didn't do in a game. And then it'd be a case then of just working on, try and cover everything as best you can, footwork, handling, high balls, shot stopping, a bit of kicking in between. When you get that shout from the coach, we need a few of the goalies for whatever they're doing, you know. So when the goalie coach, he does it well. He tries to cover everything in one training session just to keep us ticking over to an extent. But as you said, you might have to go down and get involved with the full squad at certain points of the training session.
And then Enda, something we haven't touched on already is that you're back on the county scene, but not as a goalkeeper, but as the goalkeeping coach. So from that point of view, what are you looking at to try and work your couple keepers on any night that you go out training?
Again, depending on the season, like obviously in the early season, you'll be trying to get them to get a bit more anaerobic or aerobic work of getting up and getting down on the ground as well. But again, it's the analysing of the game of what they done the previous week for me would be very, very important. So the first night you might have a conversation, you might ring them on the Monday before training on the Tuesday and ask them, how do you think it went? What do we have to work on? And then I'd build my session around that. So generally we would always go a warm up, then we go technical work, so head, hands, feet. Then we do a bit of conditioning work when the boys will be away, and then we would do a good bit then on positional work, and then some kicking. So again, you're kind of, no more than the lads, you're kind of trying to cover everything, but you're trying to tailor the session to what the goalkeeper felt or how it went. And again, for the sub goalkeeper, the other fella that you had there with you, you'd ask for his input as well, and maybe the Tuesday evening before the session, what did you think, how it went, and stuff like that as well. So it has to be very much a collaborative effort between you, the coach, and the keepers themselves. And like, on some honest feedback is very important as well. Like sometimes you might want to say, but you could say, listen, you should have done better with that ball that came across, or you should have maybe got your hands, you didn't use your feet, you were very static and things like that as well. So you need to be doing a bit of analysis on the coaches as well. But even going into a club taking young goalkeepers, you need to assess where they're at. So again, I would keep that very, very basic on the hands and feet. See what their body position like is when they die, and then obviously what they're kicking as well. So you'd be kind of looking at a holistic coaching session for everybody you're trying to do. But feedback and communication is absolutely key as a coach coming in and working with your two goalkeepers.
And Enda, like you have two keepers there with Leitrim, and sometimes you might have three. And obviously both of them have different strengths and weaknesses, and one of them is probably a mainstay and the other is not. So just the challenges of tailoring a session for two lads with different strengths and weaknesses, and then also keeping the guy that's maybe the sub-keeper, keeping him interested and motivated.
Yeah, again, generally what usually happens is usually it's the under 21 goalkeeper if there's no sub-goalkeeper there as well. So what we do is we kind of work, both of them, they'll be very similar in what they have to work on. But again, I would tailor the session that if the sub-keeper needed a lot of work, we'll say on a low shot or a dive, I would incorporate that into the session, because it would be a great confidence builder for the first keeper if he's making save after save after save as well. But you're kind of working on all areas. You need to incorporate strengths and weaknesses for both within the session. So you're kind of nearly making a full picture for everybody within your session itself. For kind of keep them motivated, it's kind of, you have to kind of keep the positive talk very, very, very good. What they're doing well, you kind of have to say to them, listen, you have to wait your opportunity. When it's going to come, you need to be ready and you need to be working both mentally and physically ready to go whenever you're going. So it's building that trust and confidence within your goalkeeping team that you're working with is very, very important.
And I suppose, Enda, as well, if the truth be told, both Paddy and myself would have been in a similar position when we got onto a panel at a young age and had an established keeper in front of us. We were more than happy to sit there for a couple of years, particularly when we were still playing under 21. But obviously it's an under 20 grade that's there now, and there's not as much of that. But you're kind of happy to be there for a couple of years. But as soon as that first team football ends, the itch is sort of on you, and you're either, you want to get in or else leave it to somebody else.
Yeah, it's a difficult balance and act on that now, to be honest, because more than yourself, I was behind Garrett for a number of years, and when I was brought in, Martin McHugh was there as well. So you just have to bide your time. Patience is very, very important. But again, you have to believe in and you have to kind of build confidence in the keeper that's there. Like, again, you have to make that very, very clear. If there's an established number one, he is number two, but he has to work as hard as number one to dislodge him. And if there is a mistake or an error or there's a drop in form, that's his opportunity that he needs to take over as well. It's a difficult position. We were all in it, but I think patience is the key thing as well. And once you're willing to work, and if you're getting game time with your club and things are going quite well, it's a little more easier to get that motivation factor there, you know.
Finally, for now, Enda, is there something that's going on in the intercounty scene that's not really happening on the club scene that club managers listening in here could implement with their own club team, whether it's an underage or an adult club team?
I think there has to be specialisation into the position. It's such a critical position now, both in club and intercounty football. You have to nearly mirror both. So if you have a coach or you have a player and you're looking for him a goalkeeper, especially younger age, you need to train that position. You need to make him feel special, that he's going to be actually wanting to play in that position, because it's hard enough to get a goalkeeper to play, but if you've got a good one, you need to work really, really hard on it. So you do need to take him away from the session. Like he still needs to play a bit of ball and get used to these handling skills and his first touch and his solo and his hop and stuff like that to be comfortable on the ball. But it's absolutely vital. He has to be taken away, we'll say, maybe on the running drills or on kick pass drills and things like that as well, where he can work on individual things as well. And I think that's the critical factor. You have to make it a specialised position, and you have to train your keepers in your sessions for that. So even if it's a selector, just taking them away and getting somebody in to maybe show them a few techniques that they need to be done from outside, of working on their hands, working on their feet, working on the dive, things to work on. But it needs to be very specialised. You need to make them feel that they're the goalkeeper, they're the number one, and if they do that, you'll build on the confidence that the keepers had that they want to play in goals.
Thanks, Enda. Paddy, just coming back to you again, and we're going to talk a little bit about mistakes and how you deal with them. So you talked about that mistake back in 2011, I think you referenced. How does the rest of the game look for you when there's a mistake made and the days then after that?
Yeah, so like back then, I was only 19, 20. Like the rest of the game was nearly, no point in lying about it, the rest of the game was nearly gone for me. Like, nearly a mistake backed up by a mistake. But, the week after it, like you're downing yourself and you're feeling sorry for yourself, and it's only a game at the end. But in the last couple of years, like don't get me wrong, I've made mistakes in a lot of games, not big ones again, but like they're just normal mistakes that a corner forward is making. I'm making the very same on a ball coming in, maybe just kick pass and goes a little bit off, kick out goes to the wrong man. The only way that I deal with them, Damien, is like you blank it completely out like that. Someone told me before, I don't know who it is, like if it's 60 minutes or 70 minutes, if the ball hits the back of the net and 30 seconds into the game, the referee doesn't turn around and blow the final whistle, you still have 59, you still have 69 minutes to go. Like, so it's just about getting your head in the. I'm gone to the stage now that if the ball goes into the back of the net, if it's my fault, the cornerback fault, midfielders, forwards, whoever's fault it is, I have the kick out taken, and 9 times out of 10 you have hit your man with the ball because you're so focused on the next play. And I know lots of people say like it's very hard to like be like that, but like it's just something that you have to keep training yourself into. If you're confident in what you've worked on at training, if you're confident in how you've grown into your position as a goalkeeper, then mistakes are part and parcel of the game. No one goes out to make them. You're there just as well as the management's there. Anyone is there to be part of a winning team, a losing team, or whatever it is, and you just want to give your all for it. Like, so, that's just keep going, like keep just backing yourself, like, and the next night you get to train and you work yourself to the bone on whatever happened. If it was a couple of bad kickouts, if it was not coming off your line quick enough, you're working on, was it right to stay on the line? Was it right to go and come off the line? Was the forward too close to the goals? Was I too far away from him? You just have to sit down, like, and that's what you do. Like, I think it happened like down in Carlow this year in the O'Barron Cup. It was my first game of the year. I came on with 10 minutes to go, and I'd say the boys can vouch for it, and you too, Damien, can say like that. It is the worst place ever to go on in the middle of a game. Coming on at half time is okay, but when you're coming on 10 minutes to go in a game and Carlow were coming at us, we were already through, and that's nothing about it, but they were bombarding us with ball. I hadn't touched one, and there was one ball that came in, and me and Gavin had a good talk about it the following Tuesday at training, and I done the right thing. But a player that wasn't a goalkeeper might say, well, you could have caught it. And that was the argument that we had. But me and Gavin and the other 2 goalkeepers, Pat and Dahi, all came to the conclusion that it was the right thing to do, was to punch it. I was fresh on. And they're the things, you just have to learn from everyone that's around you as well and just get on.
Yeah, so Paddy, like, who do you have these conversations with? So you referenced Gavin and Paddy and Dahi there. Or have you ever been with a sports psychologist, or is there somebody close to you in your family that you can have these conversations, or are you trying to figure it all out in your own head?
I'd have the conversations with the brother David, like, especially when it's a club game and like he's there and he's on the field and he sees it as well. Like, and he's the one that I'd be going to most of the time. I'd have the conversation with the girlfriend as well. Like, she's big into football, and she knows it. Like, her family is big into sport as well. Like, so she knows what's been going through my head, and it's nice to have people to talk to and to plan it out with. Like, your mum and dad will listen as well, and they'll give their two cents as well, and the sister and dad. Like, so, like, I've loads of people around me that'll talk and they'll tell me if you're right, you're wrong, or they don't know themselves. Like, so.
And Craig, just with your Leinster coach's hat on there, and really specifically to Gavin's question there about advice to young players in the goalkeeping position to dealing with mistakes, but also to the coach that's over that young goalkeeper when the mistake is made. What advice would you offer there?
I think I touch back and end this point of you have to show confidence in your goalkeeper. You really, like, if you don't have confidence in your goalkeeper, first of all, the goalkeeper knows. The goalkeeper feels it, whether you speak to them or how you speak to them, they know. And my best football would have been with Colin Kelly, who I knew no matter what I done, he had my back and he was going to play me. You know, so I didn't have to worry about certain scenarios. I just had to worry about going out there and doing what I done and what I was used to doing. You know, and he probably got the best football out of me in terms of a goalkeeper. But what I'd say in advice for young goalkeepers is, like, you just have to look at, we'll say, Stephen Cluxton. I don't know what All-Ireland final was against Mayo. Mistakes happen. Do you know what I mean? And I've never seen a goalkeeper to go through a full career without making a mistake. So you kind of have to accept at times that these things do happen. In regards to recovering from them, it's realising you made the mistake, and something that I would have picked up from Pete McGrath at his time at Louth would be what's important now. That was, he constantly kept saying it to us outfielders too. You have to think in game about what's important now. At different stages of the game. So if I kick a ball over a sideline, I have to think what is important now. And at the time, it could be just something as simple as the next kick out goes down the middle, or if a ball comes in and I go to punch it and I get bumped in the air and I miss it, I have to understand what's important now. Next time the ball comes in, do I need to jump earlier? If people are getting under my skin, as I said earlier on, I like to go around and step behind to the side of the goals and have a conversation to just refix my mind back into what I'm doing. You know, that's kind of it. Like, yeah, as I said, mistakes happen. You just have to learn over time. Like, as I said, like, they happen. Like, they still upset me now. That could have happened 8 years ago. But what I have learned myself over the last number of years is how to deal with them, and I probably grew a thick skin in the sense that I'm big enough to take it on the chin. I'm big enough to know when I've done something wrong, and kind of touching on what Paddy was saying, if I do make a mistake in a game, I will think about it and I'll go off, and people will tell me, be it when I come home, be it parents wanting to talk to me, girlfriend, brothers, whatever, they will want to talk to me. At the time, I will not answer them. I'll nearly go into my room and shut myself away, let myself think about it the next day. And over time, I'll start talking, and by the time Tuesday night comes round, I will have that conversation with the manager or the goalkeeping coach or some of my teammates to try and figure out something that these mistakes don't happen again.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. And just coming back to Gavin's question there, from my own perspective, a teenage player, 14, 15, 16, 18, even 20, some of them are not great at taking on board the wisdom that we have as adults. So the advice that I would offer is to create a really safe environment for those lads, that when mistakes are made, that there's not a recrimination thing, that they don't feel bad about it, that the players on their team don't make them feel bad about it, and that the player can be given loads of opportunities in training to make mistakes in a safe, comfortable environment, and you will feel that your goalkeeper will build confidence and the mistakes will become less and less. And then age is knowledge, and as you get older, they will get better at dealing with those. But I think for a younger player, that safe environment is the most important thing. Enda, we're going to come back to you here. So the question, we spoke about this during the week. I'm going to share my screen in a second and pop up a graphic. We're going to talk about I set the lads a challenge as regards to the amount of time that they feel is important to spend on certain skills and the amount of time that they actually spend on it. So if we look at this first one here, core skills. So the lads feel that these skills are important and that they should spend 57% of their time working on these skills. But when we break down their training schedule, it works out at 43% that they're working on. If we come down to their football skills and open play, their perceived importance is 15% of their time, where in reality they're only working at about 5% on those. And the biggest differential here is the physical fitness end of things. And this is coming to Paddy's question, Enda. So the perceived importance, the lads reckon, is 10%, but the actual time, because of primarily the gym sessions based around the full team training, is working out at 35%. So when you see that end as a coach, how are you interpreting those numbers?
The way that I would look at it is the core skills obviously is your pitch-based decisions of what you're actually meant to be doing day in, day out when you're on the training field. So for me, everything the boys have said there will be kind of correct. I would actually say it probably should be a wee bit higher. Actual time spent doesn't surprise me because we don't actually look at the goalkeeping position and the specialised position. They're incorporated into everything within the training session itself. So they're pulled to games. They probably maybe have to do some running within the session as well. So it's kind of it makes a lot of sense in what they've said. The football part of the session is kind of for me, it should be something that should be done an awful lot more. I think they should be put into games, maybe 2 goalkeepers marking each other in games as well. Again, it's very good for their first touch. It's very good for their skills in open play. The more than what Craig said there, coming out the field, it's very important where we're making an extra man now, delivering the ball up the field as well. The physical fitness one, for me, obviously, with 2 hats on here, for me, I think is a very, very important part because if the goalkeeper isn't able to get up and down, or hasn't that aerobic response in their body to keep getting up, they're not going to be able to get up and to make that maybe second or third save within the session of what they're trying to do. So for me, with hours put in the gym, I would separate that really. So your gym sessions for me will be based around a lot of very power-based work, a lot of reactive stuff, a lot of plyometric stuff. So a lot of base training have been really, really powerful athlete, because goalkeepers are athletes, to make the saves that they have to get up and down on that as well, you know.
And both myself and yourself were vertically challenged when we were playing, and when you end up in Croke Park or the provincial venues and even our county grounds, where the crossbar is the true height of 8 foot, as opposed to club grounds where they might only be 6.5 foot. But that can be a real challenge as well for a goalkeeper, to be able to get those balls that are dropping high and have confidence in taking them with good, clean hands. So very important about that whole power there as well, and strength taking a ball from a standing jump.
Yeah, hugely. And it would have been a thing that John Morrison would have done a lot with my time when he was there with Leitrim as well, of actually doing a lot of push-ups on your fingers and strengthening up that finger part of the body as well, which people forget about. It's very, very important. Leaving your hands soft, making sure you have the power in the legs. As you were saying, well, we weren't the biggest in the world, but we were able always seem to get up to the crossbar, unlike the pair of boys. But again, that powerful athlete is very, very important. So the ability to make the save, make the next save, and get up the ground and possibly make the third save, which is really, really important. And that reflex action of maybe getting the hand out with the foot or with the hand and tipping it over the bar is very, very important as well. So for me, there has to be a strength base, obviously, early season, but everything else is power based. So it's plyometrics, the ability to jump, to be able to be ballistic, being able to push that ball away and being strong on the upper body and the quads and the glutes, to be honest, Damien, you know.
And then when the panel is doing their mass runs and, you know, whatever their 15, 20-second intervals or whatever it is, and they're doing their straight runs, 150 metres or whatever, what should a goalkeeper be doing when the outfielders are doing that type of conditioning?
Well, early season, I have no problem with the goalkeepers doing a wee bit of that. Not doing it all, but doing a wee bit of it, because it's good to get a good aerobic base in, and it's good as part of team morale as well, Damien, that they're working. But for me, it's to get up and get down, get up and get down, get up and get down, consistently working. So again, if the boys are working for 40 seconds on their Maz, we should be making saves on our Maz 40 seconds, up and down within that period of time as well. So come close to the games, obviously, it's an awful lot less, so it's an awful more reactive and one-off saves, and then maybe getting up for the second one. But early season is very, very important that they're working at that high aerobic and anaerobic pace that the boys will be doing in the session. And if you ask any outfield player to go and do a goalkeeping session, after 5 minutes, they're panting. They're on their feet. They're not able to get up. They're not able to get down. And everybody's smiling on the call, but it's the truth. They can all think they can play in goals, but they don't train like it. So it's a very, very individual thing. And for club coaches as well, it's very, very important. They're trained different than the boys out the field.
Quads and glutes really exploding.
Absolutely burning. But also the lungs, when they just can't get up and make that second or third save, Damien, is very, very important, you know.
Thanks, Enda. Paddy, I'll come back to you, and I just want to talk about decision making. And is it conscious, unconscious, instincts, and how do you train for it? Because decision making, one of the hardest things to train for, but one of the things that you will really get judged on.
Yeah, decision making is a very hard one, Damien. Like it's you know, it's just in the moment sort of stuff. Like obviously playing for so long, and like when Gavin has played for so long, we can relate to scenarios that can happen in games and where the ball will come from, what can happen, and get used to making them kind of little small handed saves, like where the ball is nearly just at your elbow, like, and you're just getting your hand out nice and quick. Like, you know, it's really all in the moment. And like people say you can't train decision making, but you can. You know, like if you're playing long enough, you've nearly made a save in every angle of the goals, or you've conceded a goal in every angle of the goals, or you've covered every angle of the goals. So like decision making is a lot like, it just, if it happens in a game, you train it like, you know, so you're standing at one post and balls are going to the back post and you're just getting around to cover your area and the whole lot. Like decision making can be like 45, ball dropping in, does the midfielder go, do you go? Have you spoke about it before the game? Have you spoke about it when he comes in on the line with you? Like, you know, you have to be ready for it and be on top of it before it happens as well.
Yeah, great, Paddy. Super answers there. And just two little things that I would have used during my time is the kid that is learning to walk. The kid that can only learn to walk is because they can see somebody else doing it. So something I would have done a lot of is just driving in the car or in bed at night before you go to sleep is imagining making these saves, seeing somebody out the field taking a shot going somewhere and feeling what the body was going to do to get into that position to make those saves. Because goalkeepers very seldom react to where the ball is going, especially at intercounty level. The forwards are too good to be able to react to where the ball is going. They have to judge by body language and shape and get a feel and a sense for where the ball is going. And the other one I used to do as well, when we're getting back to mistakes or otherwise, but if a goal went in, whether I should have saved it or not, once the ball was down the other end of the field, I used to take 10 seconds to replay that goal in my mind and just see what I would have done different. Would I have came earlier? Would I have moved left, right? What could I have done? And potentially I wouldn't save it the second time, but I gave myself a chance at doing it. And then that was it. That's how I moved on from that incident. Once I had replayed it in my head, I was ready to move on. Craig, I want to come back to you now on advice, and I'll touch in with both lads as well on this one. Advice to clubs about developing a goalkeeper from a young age. So at what age do you think it should start, and what process should a club do to get a goalkeeper?
I done a webinar myself there on Monday night, and I would have sent out, Paddy would have filled out a link, I would have sent out to the GPA about just asking questions to the current intercounty goalkeepers about when they started and so on, like loads of different questions. But one of them come up was the majority of them didn't really fully take on to be a goalkeeper until they were maybe 16 plus. But for myself personally, I just can't explain how important it is that a Gaelic goalkeeper almost can move like an outfield player. Their skill levels are at the same level as an outfield player. So over them years from when they start up till maybe 14, that they are playing as outfielders. They understand how to play as outfielders. Their skill levels are at the same level as an outfielder. But I did make a point the other night in saying that club coaches, why not take 10 minutes out of a session and allow the full team to take part in 10 minutes or 15 minutes of Gaelic goalkeeping? Be it kicking off a cone, be it shot stopping, be it something fun. Now, I know myself with coaching goalies, like, it's very easy to make the session enjoyable and competitive between 2 lads or 3 lads. It's very easily done. So there's no reason why you can't take 10 or 15 minutes out of a session once every 3 weeks to introduce young players to the goalkeeping scene, because a lot of them, as I said in the questionnaire I give out, a lot of them didn't realise they were goalkeepers until they were 16 plus, because of maybe an injury to the keeper that was already there, that might have been maybe possibly too heavy to play, I feel, and he was just there from a young age, and all of a sudden he's injured, and then, oh, we'll throw this fella in, and that was his first experience of GAA goalkeeping. So why not introduce young players to different elements of goalkeeping? And who knows, they might just take it up, because I know now, I feel now goalkeeping is more attractive now than it was when I was 8, 9, 10 years of age.
Thanks, Craig. Enda, anything else to add to that?
No, I'd probably agree with what Craig says about letting fellas play out the field for a little bit as well. It certainly does help, but if there is fellas in the club that want to play in goals, that's where you need to actually start training that from a very young age and getting that enjoyment. I think there's a fear factor with young fellas in goals that if I drop the ball, the manager's going to give out to me, or it's going to hit me and it's going to be sore. So no more than what Craig said, it should be very enjoyable. But even if fellas playing soccer in the schoolyard, everybody wants to be in goals now. You know, they all want to play in goals because, as Craig said, it's a very, very nice position to play in now. There's kind of the likes of Stephen Cluxton and all these goalkeepers making it a place that is going to be very enjoyable, and it's a higher profile than it used to be as well. But I would kind of say, if there is a kid in the club that wants to play in goals, start training them from a young age and get everybody involved in it. I just think it's vital, because it's not a tough thing. It's a very specialised position, and you need fellas that want to play in goals. You just can't put a fella in goals, because if he's just going to stand there, he's going to be of no benefit to anybody. And the importance of the position now is just critical. We'll say from under 14, under 15, under 17 up. Like, it's the winning and losing of an awful lot of games, you know.
And then, you know, it's a common thing that's said a lot, is that, you know, it's a particular type of a kid is put into goals because they can't play anywhere else. So how can we flip that around for a manager, that, okay, we can address the goalkeeping position in a correct way, get somebody who has real potential to get on and play well and establish themselves there, but the person that maybe they were thinking of sticking them into the goals, how can that kid be incorporated in the outfield stuff to make sure that kid can enjoy their GAA experience?
Well, again, you're looking at your small side of games, Damien. You're looking at playing games within the sessions that they're going to enjoy, like, and marking somebody of their own ability. But then what you're looking to do is that in some of the sessions, you just take them away and you do a bit of goalkeeping work, and then you incorporate them back into the session if you want, with maybe 2 or 3 other fellas. Like, you have to be very wary of the ability now and kids' mindsets of, like, if they don't like something, the chances are they're not going to come back. So it's very, very important that they are incorporated in the full session. They do the warm-up, they do their skills work. Then they might do a small game, and then you take them out, or your selector takes them out and does a bit of work. We'll say it under 12 or under 14 or under 13 or whatever the case may be. So it's about being very cognitive and being conscious of what you want to get out of the fella that you're going to put in goals, or the potential fella you're going to put in goals, and that he's going to play a bit of ball as well, you know?
Yeah. Personally, I'd love to see an approach where teams were, if they had 12 games in the season, that they use 6 goalkeepers or 4 goalkeepers. So 6 lads played 2 matches, or 4 lads played 3 matches throughout the year, and that maybe the strength of your team was only ever at 90% or 95%, but that there was always a lad that was 16 or 17 on your panel would get a start in every game, as opposed to those lads only coming on if matches were decided one way or the other towards the end.
I'd actually go one step forward from that, Damien. I'd actually make sure everybody had a go in goals, whether at under 12 or under 13. Let them play. That's what I'd say, you know. Let them all have a go at it, and even in challenge matches or whatever the case may be, and you can see what your potential from your goalkeepers are then.
Great stuff. Paddy, we're going to come back to you now. We're going to hit some quick answers, and we'll wrap this up in a few minutes. I would just want to know a little bit about your gear. If anybody's seen me tweet earlier, Paddy sent me a photo about the boot room out the back, and he had 30 pairs of boots hanging up on coat hangers. What are you wearing at the minute? You're a big Adidas man.
Big Adidas man, Damien. I've gone big.
Nice.
they're a bit out there. I start buying boots that I'm going to wear for the year. So I'll buy a league boot and a championship boot. So I'll try and have one that'll be a mole and one that'll be a stud. But I'm a big Adidas boot, big Predator. I have a few of the Power Swerve boots that I'm afraid to wear anymore because they're so valuable. But yeah, the boots are a big thing. I guess 3, 4, 5 pairs a year I could maybe. As no more than what you used to do when you were playing. I get the names on them. So I do get number 1 and I get hashtag number 3. So I had a close friend a couple of years ago that died with that adult death syndrome. So he used to always play fullback and all them good teams that I played on. So I did put the number 3 on the boots for the start of the year. The boots is massive though. When I play, do you want to know about the gloves?
Yeah, well, I'll just touch on the boots there again for a second, Paddy. What people don't realise, I had a question here earlier and I didn't ask it because I knew it would come up, but these are the things that make these lads confident players. You might think it's funny, but these lads feeling really good, having a nice pair of kicks, nice pair of gloves. Paddy, you're a fan of having the shorts, not the traditional shorts, but having a navy pair of shorts going with the jersey.
Yeah.
These are, you might think that this is Kim Kardashian stuff, but this is really important to these lads, and this is the element of madness in goalkeepers. Tell me about your gloves, Paddy.
So when you were involved, Damien, you used to sort us out with the old sport gloves, so we used to wear them the whole time. But the way the game has gone and changed, and with short kickouts, and Craig will be able to go with this as well. Like, you give a short kickout, 9 out of 10 it was coming back to you. With the new rule now coming in, it won't. But I felt that the big goalkeeping gloves were very awkward and I got away from them. So I went after the Murphys, just a little small outfield gloves, the Murphys. But in the last year, myself and another fella in the club, Emmett Noonan, have gone into selling football socks and gloves. So I started wearing my own brand. So it's just, they're the same kind as the Murphys. They're just a normal pair of outfield gloves, EMPA written on them. They're black out, so they're nothing too fancy either.
And Paddy, where can anybody go to get these? You'll do them a good deal.
Get them on Instagram, Damien. Any clubs that want them, there's a great deal there. €15 a pair for gloves and socks together, €15. So it's well worth it.
Discount code DEMO might get you 2 or 3% off.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And Craig, tell me about what you're wearing at the minute. Boots, gloves.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can see, is my camera back up and running?
Yeah, you're good, yeah, real clear.
Oh, so I think it's got to go in there again. But I bought a pair of, I've always worn Adidas. The odd time I go back to Nike, but I've always been an Adidas man. I bought the old school Nitro Charge. Be very similar to Paddy. I had about 40 pairs throughout the year. As I said to you earlier on in the WhatsApp, if I felt like I was playing bad, the only thing that would lift me again was a bright, flashy pair of boots that I can go training and I'd feel great in again. You know, so I would go through, and even my brother sitting across from me here, he'd give out to me the whole time. Another new pair of boots, he'd say to me. But I'd usually stick with Adidas, and that could range from the old school Preds. I wouldn't really buy much of the new Adidas because I just think it's a bit too far out there for me. It's a bit strange looking, some of the stuff.
That's the laceless stuff, is it?
Yeah, I tried it once and just didn't feel right with it, so I didn't. So I have
a few pairs of the laceless boots as well, Damien. So.
Yeah, lovely for the summer. Ball just springs off it. The brand new O'Neills.
Yeah, brand new O'Neills. Only wear them in Crow Park or something if you get up there.
Enda, you remember Declan O'Keefe from Kerry went barehanded. So
yeah,
that's not that long ago. Yeah. He was
no. Yeah. That's gone back in the 90s, Damo. That's when we were really proper goalkeepers back then, you know.
Yeah. What was your kicks of choice, Enda?
Oh, again, Adidas Predator would have been my big one, and I would have been a massive fan for the gloves of finger saves. I would have always used them, whether it was Adidas or whether it was actually some of the other companies that I would have done. But big thing, I would be using Seismic now, with still playing a wee bit of junior and stuff like that at home, and still using the Seismic finger saves. I just felt they were more comfortable on their hand, and as well, it just meant that the fingers won't come back, and there's a good protection for them. So I like the actual finger savers, and I'd recommend them to a lot of the young keepers as well.
We'll whip around there again, Enda. We'll stay with you, but tea a choice at the minute. What would you be using yourself, or what are you recommending young keepers use?
Just an owl cone, Damo. Just an owl cone. That's all we're at. Let's
trim it or leave it as it is?
I can trim it usually, not as high as it was, but usually trim it a wee bit.
Yeah, Paddy, what are you working off?
I'm still working, Damien, off the one that Gary Matthews gave us back in maybe 2012. Do you remember? He said it was like a cutout from the old Astras.
Yeah, the upside down ashtray.
The upside down ashtray. I think the Green Ball company have a smaller version of it again, which I have that, but I can't get into that at the minute. I'm still using the one from back then.
Yeah, they still have the two sizes. They have the smaller size and the regular size there as well. And Craig, what are you kicking off?
It just depends on the weather, I suppose. Sometimes I like to go back to just straight off the grass. If the style of play we're going with is short kickouts, I go straight off the grass. But usually just the old training cones where I'd cut them back and if maybe 2 or 3 different sizes, depending on, when you go to a pitch and some grass can be very long. I'd stick to a higher cone so the ball's not coming off it. But just a standard cone that you cut back. Yeah,
that's the difference between intercounty football and club football is the quality of the pitch. And to be generally nearly every intercounty game, other than potentially some of the league matches, you can kick off the grass. But when you're going to club venues and the whole 21 or 13 is all wiped out with sand or divots or whatever, really important that you have a tee that will stand up and stabilise the ball, and again that your goalkeeper is really comfortable with. And what really gets your goat up? What annoys you?
A couple of things actually that I'm based in at the minute. If a team loses, it's basically they're not fit enough and it was the goalkeeper's fault. They are two things that just drive me insane.
You're taking the brunt of both of them.
I am, yeah. But I just think it's crazy. Like, it doesn't matter what level they're at. If something happens, the goalkeeper didn't do it, didn't kick it out, went over his head, or he slapped it down, or something like that happened. The fellas out the field could do it 40 times, and that's nothing said about that. And then the big thing is that they're not fit enough. They keep chasing after the ball. They keep doing whatever they're doing. But yeah, they're not talking about the 20 times to give it away, or they've about a percentage of 22% in the scoring zone. So they are my big two. Always have been and always will be.
Yeah, it's a question I asked Porrick Davis in the first of our interviews is, does the spectator actually understand the game that he's involved in at intercounty level? And there is a bit of a disconnect there with what an intercounty team is trying to do or what's going on and the level of understanding. And it's not helped by the analysts that are on TV and picking out those sensational stuff and not really grilling into the game. Paddy, what gets your goat up?
Be something similar to Enda, Damien. People, they don't want to talk about the good days in the past. They want to talk about the bad days, the mistakes, the defeats. They don't want to talk about like, oh, Longford won the Burren Cup, but Longford lost such a league game. The back up a positive with a mistake, like, or something. I just can't understand. Like we're all together. Like, and Longford say it's the same in Leitrim and same in Louth. Like, it's nearly like say one good thing and 2 bad things and move on. Like, it should be nearly 3 good things and leave it at that. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit in the Irish nature again, isn't it? About that whole sort of slagging, or that they think is harmless slagging, and you think that it's great crack. It's not. Craig, what gets your goat up?
I think the two Johnny's done a bit in this. It's kind of like that club fan that stands at the same spot at the wall at every game, and any time the goalkeeper gets the ball, all he wants you to do is kick it as far down the field as you possibly can. So there's one man in particular. Anytime I do get the ball in club football, he's the only person I seem to hear lately would be, just give the ball or kick the ball, or what's that easy doing going past the 21-yard line, or and he little does he know that maybe your manager's asking you to do this, or as soon as the ball goes into the full back line, your full backs, the first reaction they do is give you the ball. But you always get that header that's behind the wall that just he's about to take a stroke or a heart attack as soon as he sees the goalkeeper passing the 21-yard line.
That could be one of the fellas who might hit with one of those stray kickouts early in the game. Just a rapid fire, lads. We're looking for some reactions here. I'm going to call you out some names. Craig, I'm going to give you first crack at these. So we go Craig, Enda, and Paddy. So Conor McGregor, Craig, you're up.
I love him. Absolute hero.
Enda, go on ahead.
Controversial.
Paddy.
Yeah, made his money.
Mary Lou, Craig.
I wouldn't care a whole pile for the lady.
Go on ahead, Enda.
No comment.
Same as that, Damien, no comment.
Sitting on the fence, lads. You get blisters. Michael O'Leary.
If he's watching, could I do a few free tickets? Get out of Ireland.
Go on ahead,
Legend.
Yeah. Not for me either. Afraid of flying, Damien.
Joe Brawley, Craig.
Hugely controversial, but interesting.
Enjoyable.
Very interesting.
Donald Trump.
Fishbowl.
Fool.
Head case.
Roy Keane.
Absolute hero. Greatest Irish soccer player.
Competitor.
Legend. Greatest ever United player.
Bono.
Who?
Bono.
I think it's enough said there. I don't have much time for that man.
I'd agree. Tax Exile comes to mind.
Only ever really seen him in South Park.
Love Island, Craig.
I'd love to be there.
Addictive.
Have been made watch it all.
I'm sure you have. First to the remote control. Craig, we'll stay in the same order, lads. So, Craig,
I just think it's interesting, Damien. Paddy says he's made watch it. For anyone that stood beside Paddy, I find it very hard to believe that somebody has made Paddy watch something.
That beard would surely be gone if somebody had that influence on him. Craig, Messi or Ronaldo?
Neither. David Beckham.
Stop.
Oh, will you stop? Messi.
Ronaldo.
99 or a Cornetto?
99.
99.
99, had one this evening.
O'Gara or Sexton?
O'Gara.
Sexton.
O'Gara.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
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 Chicken burger or beef burger?
Beef burger.
Chicken burger.
Turkey burger.
Hate and love that one. Crafts or chess? I'm not sure if goalkeepers should be answering this question now. You might need to know what either game is.
None for me. Don't know how to play either of them.
Drafts.
Drafts.
Yeah, and you'd never find a goalkeeper saying chess now. 25 or poker? This is probably more in your line.
Poker.
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 Darts or pool?
Darts.
Darts.
Pool.
And last one, hat or not on a sunny day?
No hat.
Hat.
Hat every day.
So, Craig, tell me why no hat.
No matter what you do, you still look up into the sun like if a high ball's coming in, so the hat doesn't necessarily block you. I wore it once there last year and the Antrim beat us and I ended up fracturing my thumb. I come on for the last 10 minutes and I ended up fracturing my thumb, so I said never again.
Damien.
Paddy.
Yeah, we played Dublin in, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and Paddy Power tweeted, I had to put a hat on at half time, or before half time. Paddy Power tweeted saying, the fair play to Longford goalkeeper, he is the head of a fella going in there with a pig cap that looks like he's going to have a pint at half time. And with the way the whole thing was going, it probably wouldn't have been a bad shot.
And Paddy, just on a serious note, is the hat wearing because you think that people feel you should be wearing it, or you actually see benefit to it?
Bit of both, Damien. So some days the sun will be the right height that, the hat, it just stops you from holding the hand up when the ball isn't even down your end of the field. But as what Craig said, hat is it's useless in the sense that when you look up, you're seeing stars as it is, like, so.
Yeah.
But like I go with the hat, it all depending on how high or how low the sun is for most of the game.
Yeah, just for resting the arm more than anything else.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Lads, excellent. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed tonight. It was great talking about a position that lots of people probably don't understand fully. Hopefully we gave you some insights into the potential to work with young goalkeepers within your clubs, and maybe more so what's going on inside the mind of a goalkeeper and how you might be able to get the best out of them. Thanks very much again tonight, lads, for your contribution, and we wish you all the best of luck. Hopefully you get back playing ball this summer, and you can have there could be not a handy. There's no handy anything's ever won, but there could be some big surprises this year with what teams do well in championships. So we wish you all the very best of luck, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers, lads. Thanks a million. Bye bye.